Welcome back to the Takeout. Pennsylvania Treasurer and Republican candidate for governor Stacy Garrity is calling on the state to pause all data center developments. This move coincides with Governor Josh Shapiro's executive order earlier this week that placed significant restrictions on new data center construction. Stacy Garrity joins me now. Madam Treasurer, it's good to have you on the program. I want to play for you sound from this afternoon from President Trump talking about artificial intelligence and data centers writ large. Please, let's listen.
We're building the biggest plants anywhere in the world. And I can say if I were the mayor of a town or the governor of a state and I had a chance to get a big plant in, an AI plant or a data center, I would absolutely want it because the jobs are enormous and the money paid, the taxes paid are just enormous. And if you don't take it, you're going to be left behind because there are plenty of places that want it. So I would say that maybe it can use a little public relations help. But if I were a governor or mayor, I would want that plant in my community. And many of them are designed in a very beautiful way. It's really very positive.
How to react to that? Because you want a moratorium in Pennsylvania. You're very skeptical of not only the funding that comes from data centers, but their effect on communities in the Commonwealth. Are you in disagreement with the president on this?
So, Garrett, first of all, great to be with you. And no, I have not called for a moratorium. I have called on a pause. So I've done 5 listening sessions around the Commonwealth, had 2 teletown halls. So I've talked to township supervisors, county commissioners, local solicitors, first responders, community leaders, and they have all said the same thing. They just need a little bit of time to get this right. They need to make sure that they're able to update their zoning. Some townships haven't had zoning updated since the 60s and 70s. They want to make sure that their ratepayers are protected. They want to make sure that their communities are protected. And they want to make sure that these data centers go on brownfield sites and blighted areas. And we have plenty of them in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and not on our precious farmland.
But the president sounds much more bullish on this topic than you do. He's endorsed you. Do you think there's something the president doesn't see or hasn't heard that you have heard?
Well, yeah. So this all comes down to leadership. So if I had been the governor when the Amazon deal came around, I would have gotten all the stakeholders around the table and asked them, what do you need to be successful? What do you need to make sure that ratepayers are protected? What do you need to make sure that, that we're listening to the communities? And, I learned something on each of these listening sessions. For example, some of these local solicitors are getting bullied by Wall Street law firms. Some fire departments would have to respond if there were an issue, and they need some specialized training and perhaps some equipment. So, we have an opportunity to get it right, and they have just asked for a little bit of time so that they can do it.
Where do you come down, Madam Treasurer, on the question of non-disclosure agreements? Because many data centers require them. Some have been required in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They create a cloak of secrecy that I have encountered in many jurisdictions, really ticks people off.
It does tick people off because it just shows there's a lack of transparency. So, for example, with this Amazon deal, nobody knew that they weren't required to bring their own energy, bring their own water. We didn't know there weren't community engagement agreements, that they were getting sweetheart tax breaks. And we certainly didn't know that Josh Shapiro was getting over $5 million in political contributions from data center developers, all out of state, by the way.
So you said there's a difference between a moratorium and a pause. When I talk to people on Wall Street, they say there is no effective difference. If you're pausing, that money's going to go somewhere else, and the intentions will go somewhere else rapidly. How do you respond to that?
Oh, that's very simple. So pause is as long as it takes. And if you get all the stakeholders around the table and figure out what they need to make sure that their communities are protected and that, ratepayers aren't suffering, then that can be accomplished very quickly. But instead, we didn't do anything for 13 months, and now there's a lot of misinformation out there, and people, quite honestly, are just afraid. They don't want them in their backyard. But again, like I mentioned, we have plenty of blighted areas in our Commonwealth. We have plenty of brownfield sites where there's already infrastructure around there. And so we have an opportunity to make sure that data centers are an addition to the grid, not a subtraction.
So when you told Breitbart in July that there could be an energy production boom in the Commonwealth, and that could make Pennsylvania a national AI and tech hub, how do you align that with this hesitancy about data centers, because as I talk to people in the tech world, they are completely interlocked. And again, if you're not there quickly, you're going to be left behind, to the president's comments earlier today.
I know. Well, like a lot of Pennsylvanians, I wanted to believe Josh Shapiro when he brought in the $20 billion Amazon deal, but he only told us half the story. And so we didn't know that these protections weren't taken care of. I did not know that communities had not been involved. I didn't know, that some of these data centers were actually going on farmland and in communities. And so we only, unfortunately, had half the story. And like I said, we certainly didn't know that he was getting millions and millions of dollars from out of state data center developers. One of them, which is basically doing the Amazon deal.
Very quickly, Madam Treasurer, how do you assess this campaign? It is perceived on the outside as a very uphill battle for you. How do you view it? And will you ask the President of the United States to come campaign alongside you?
Oh, absolutely. I think he will come and campaign in Pennsylvania for sure. At least that's what we've been told. And the polls are tightening. A couple months ago, it had the race. It was, oh my gosh, way over 20 points. The latest poll that came out had the race at 7. And so the polls are tightening. When people hear about my message of what Pennsylvania can be, because right now we rank 47th economically, we're spending $5 billion more a year than what we bring in, and we are the 6th highest state in the nation for people leaving because there's not opportunities. They know that I really just have a different vision for the Commonwealth, and we have a governor that's more interested in Pennsylvania Avenue than helping Pennsylvania families.
Republican nominee for governor, Stacy Garrity, I appreciate the time. Thank you.